Daily strengthening grace was the topic of the first verse of 2 Timothy chapter 2. Now, in the second verse, Paul is going to tell us one of the primary reasons why we need that grace of Christ at work in our lives continuously. Listen to this verse. And what you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. Every Christ follower bears the responsibility of passing along the truth of the gospel to the next generation. This is the Great Commission. Go into the world and preach the gospel and make disciples. Now notice how critical it is what we pass on. Paul says, what you have heard from me, Timothy, that's what you pass on. In other words, the doctrines and the teachings of Scripture. Now, Timothy had the Old Testament Scriptures, and then he was beginning to have parts of the New Testament as he was involved in his ministry. The New Testament was being written, and he had some of these letters from Paul that were just bristling with truth. The doctrines of sin, the doctrine of atonement, the doctrine of salvation by faith, the doctrine of sanctification, and so many others. We need to pass on good theology, good doctrine to the next generation of Christ followers. Now, sometimes when I talk about that, I've heard people say, well, Mike, the Christian life is about more than theology. We've got to get out there and do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you listen to me teach very long, you will hear me talking about what we need to get out and do. But here's the thing. Do not use that as an excuse to not focus on doctrine, because right doctrine will lead to right living. You can't do what you don't know. So you must know it first. We must teach this doctrine. And Paul tells Timothy, find trustworthy people and train them in the faith. Now here's the challenge for us. Every single one of us as Christ followers must be passing along the truth to the next generation. Now, you can hear me say that and you can say, well, Mike, that's easy for you to say. You teach theology. You teach theology classes. You preach. You know the Bible. I don't know all the things that you do. Oh, that's not an excuse. You know truth. You may, in some areas, not know as much as some others, but I guarantee you that there is someone that you are connected to who needs the truth that you know. Every single Christ follower should have someone in their lives that is just behind them in the faith. Either they don't know the Lord or they have just come to faith, and you may not know everything. Well, I don't know everything either. But someone that knows a little less than you that you can pour your life into. And at the same time, every one of us should have someone who is just ahead of us in the faith as well, who is pouring into our lives. And that's how that chain reaction of discipleship works. I don't know if you noticed this, but in that verse that I just read for you, there are 4 spiritual generations. There's Paul, there's Timothy, there are the people who Timothy is discipling, and then there are the people who those people are going to disciple. 4 generations. There is nothing more important in the Christian faith, in the church, than discipling the young and training the next generation. Both the chronologically young, our children and our teenagers, but also the spiritually young, those who are just coming to faith. Are you helping to raise the next generation of Christ followers? You should be.